of you guys, are there still some chairs?
Is there chairs in any of the other rooms we could bring out?
There possibly could be in that cupboard right there. And let me look over here. Oh no, it's locked today. Sean's gonna go shut down. Okay. Okay, that's a good reminder. Oh yeah. They're checking? Yeah. Okay. I have one more here.
Hello.
And
That's me up front.
we're longtime members. I think we've been members for like around 18 years now.
Man.
Long time, yes.
Lisa
And
Tohill.
I'm here to talk about updates on White Whale Quarry. And back in October of 2010, we had the fantastic opportunity to purchase some land in San Joaquin Valley area, right outside of Bakersfield, right here in California. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of history of the area so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. This is a map of the San Joaquin area in two different time periods. The first one on the left is it shows, oh yeah, I need the, okay. On the left here is during the Middle Miocene between 16 and 11 million years ago. And the basin, which is right here, right in this area right here, when it was first formed, it was an inland sea. And it has since been called the Tembler Sea. Now, it's bordered by mountain ranges on the east and coastal mountains on the left. And this was considered a near-shore coastal shelf environment where there's shallow and deep water animals. Now, our quarry is probably somewhere right around in here. And these are the fossils from these animals is what we find. The map on the right here is from the late Miocene, 11.6 to 5.3 million years ago. And during this time period, the mountains here, the Sierra Nevadas, were uplifting and eroding at the same time. And what was happening is that these, you see these river systems that flow down into the Tembler Sea, it was bringing in a tremendous amount of sediment rapidly, tens of thousands of feet in just a few million years. And then right around 2 million years, these openings right here, the little inlets that go into the inland sea had closed off by 2 million years. This is the Pacific Ocean right there. And today, as it is today, the shoreline is back to what it is today, and it's completely filled in with sediment. Now, in this inland sea, we find whales, dolphins, sharks, rays, fishes, turtles, desmostylus birds, and even an occasional land mammal. Sometimes the land mammals, if they died near shore, they would get washed down into this inland sea. And here's an interesting fact. If all the glaciers worldwide melted, this, once again, would be an inland sea. Okay. All right, now this is the area where our property is. In fact, our property is like right over in this section here. And this mountain right here, this is what is named Shark's Tooth Hill. Now, no one knows really who coined the phrase Shark Tooth Hill, but a little history on this is back in 1853, there was a geologist, William Blake, who found shark's teeth during a field survey he was conducting for the railroads. And what this was the first occasion of finding shark's teeth west of the Rockies. And ever since then, it's caused a lot of interest, and paleontologists have been studying the area for about 150 years now. And this area is also known as the most abundant and diverse assemblage of Miocene-aged fossils in the world. There's over 141 species to date, and we're still finding them. We're finding more and more all the time. And because of this significance, in 1976, it was put on as a national natural landmark. So this area and a little bit of an area around it, right in here, is all protected, which is nice. You can see right here, this is another excavated area. This is actually, is that East Quarry? Yeah, East Quarry. And that's the quarry that belongs to the Ernst family. So. Okay, next. Now this is our quarry right here. It goes from this section here all the way to a little bit over here. We almost have it all in there, but not quite. And it runs about 600 feet from this direction to about 100 feet that direction. And right down below this mountain, right in here, is where the Tohill bone bed lies. Now this is in the upper part of the marine Round Mountain Silk Formation. And a little bit about how the bone bed is formed. The bone bed was formed between 16 and 15 million years ago during a warming period. And what had happened is that it became so warm that the sediment stopped flowing down from the mountains into the Tembler Sea. And this went on for a time period of 100,000 to 700,000 years. And then, so during that time, the animals still lived their lives, then died, and so the bones laid around, and then the currents would come in and would make shifting piles of these bones. And when the weather started to cool again, and the sediment started flowing back into the inland sea, it covered these shifting piles up, and it created a bone bed layer anywhere from 1 inch to 20 inches thick. Everybody you talk to gives a different, one person says it's 1 to 6 inches, one person says it's 2 inches to 2 feet, but it varies in size according to you know, where the bones got buried, and some areas were thinner than other areas. Okay, next. Okay, now this is a picture, and you're actually on the quarry, and right here is our camp, and these little brown dots are cows. We also lease to a rancher nearby, and so we have cows coming around. So it's interesting to have them there. They're kind of fun, but when we find something significant, we have to make sure that we protect it and cover it so it doesn't get stampeded on. But so anyway, so it gives you an idea of distance-wise, you know, from the quarry. And all of this is bone bed. Okay, next one. Okay, this is a picture of our camp in 2010 when we first got the property. And we were pretty excited to have it because it made us able to go in and be able to spend the night and everything. And when we bought it, it had the fenced area with this little shed. So, okay, next. And this is our camp now. And we have since added this other trailer. And we built some patios. And it makes it a really nice place to stay. And then if we have company or whatever, we have another trailer. In fact, the museum, a lot of times when they come up, they use the second trailer to stay in. Okay, next. And this is our trailer again. And something new that we got in the last year was these 500-gallon water tanks. And we got 2 of them, one for each trailer. Makes it a lot easier to than hauling water up every time we go up. And then we also added this sea train over here for storage and stuff like that. So camp is always growing, that's for sure. Okay, next. And there's Sean.
That was a great day. That was a great day.
Yeah, we finally got water. We couldn't find anybody to bring water. We had the tanks, but we couldn't get.
Oh no, we found someone to bring it up. It was me all the time. 5 gallons at a time.
But we finally found, was it Culligan Band that finally came up and filled our tanks up. So that was a real happy day. Okay, next. Okay, so now we're gonna get a little scientific here. To date, this is our most significant find. You know, here's those, you can see part of the outline. It's kind of a rough outline, but that's it still in the matrix. It was found in, we found this January. Yeah, January of 2011. And it was so, we got so much rain that year, we ended up, we had to leave it in the ground until April. We didn't get it out until April. So it was, because it was so wet, I was worried about something happening to it. But this dolphin, in a few little things that happened with it, in 2012, it was featured in a National Geographic TV show called America's Lost Treasure. And this was a contest type reality show. You can go to the next, there you go. And this is how it was when it was entered in the contest. And while we were doing the filming for that, the National Geographic brought in paleontologist Dr. Larry Barnes. And because the whole premise of this is that we entered it, and I wanted to know what species it was. I didn't know. You know, it didn't look like some of the ones that other people had found. You know, there wasn't a lot of skulls found, but the ones that I did see, they didn't look like that. Anyway, so when Dr. Barnes looked at it, he got really excited because he said, I've never seen one like this from the bone bed before. And so we all got really excited about it. And, okay, so the next. Okay, so we had to go about finding out what species it was. Now, here's a picture of the ear bones that were found from Shark's Tooth Hill and named by Remington Kellogg, who's a naturalist. And there's 10 of them, except for these two right here belong to an Arabundus, which is a different type of, I think it's a planistoid, a different type of dolphin. Anyway, all of these here all belong to the dolphins from Shark's Tooth Hill, and they're all named. Now, the problem that we have is that when you find a skull, and it's a rare thing to find a skull in Shark's Tooth Hill bonehead, but when you find a skull, a lot of times the ear bones drop out, especially if it's been laying around for a while and they get washed away. So we find these skulls, no ear bones. How are we going to identify them with the already named species? So you have to drag out the ear bones that are all named and see if they fit into the skull. And to date, of the 10 different ear bones, 6 of them have been matched with skulls, and there's 4 that have not yet been matched with skulls. Next one. Now, this ear bone, Larry Barnes brought this one out, and it had been donated by somebody. It wasn't named or anything yet, but he felt it was really different than the other ear bones. It was the little processes on the side. These little processes here were very short, and it looked different. So he thought this might have something to do with the dolphin. Okay. And after Larry Barnes did some studying on the dolphin, he felt that it belonged to the family Pontoporidae. Now, these dolphins in the past have a very poor fossil history. They have found some from younger age deposits in the Atlantic and Pacific coast of North and South America, and also in Europe. The shared characteristics of this family, Pontoporidae, are small eye orbits, large flippers, small dorsal fins, and small body size. I think adult got no more than 2 meters, or a little under 2 meters. So it was a very small dolphin. This picture is of a Pontoporia blanduli, which is the closest living relative today, and they're actually in danger of becoming extinct. Okay, next. Okay, here's a picture of the dolphin when we brought into the museum. And during this whole process, I became a member of LACM's volunteers, and Dr. Barnes says, he goes, I want you to prep the dolphin out. I said, okay. So I was a little nervous about doing it. It was the first time I'd done anything that was so fragile and possibly so important, you know, being thinking that it might be a new species. But anyway, so in the process of doing this, there's another little closer look of it. Also, besides the skull, this was part of the lower jaw. And I guess when the dolphin had fossilized and the currents, you know, were hitting it, but while it was out in the open ocean, or exposed to the inland sea there, the lower jaw must have like slipped out and then twisted over this way. But it does belong to the dolphin. What's that? For the ear bones. We thought maybe, possibly, they might be in the matrix that had dropped down a little bit, and then as I was cleaning, I was like, okay, I gotta find one, I gotta find one. Okay, next one. This is interesting. Sean was mentioning that, you know, sometimes other teeth drop out and things collect in there. It wasn't bitten by a shark or anything, but it probably just, you know, got washed in there. Also, in this little opening here, I found the other part of this section right here had dropped down inside. So that was a good find inside there. Okay, go ahead. And here's this section. Now, this is where the ear bones should have been, is right in here. And unfortunately, there wasn't any. Okay, next one. And here's the lower jaw. And you can see it has, this type of dolphin has many teeth, and they were all the same size, many small teeth. The teeth were all gone? And all the teeth were gone. I think I did find one or two teeth, but I'm not sure. I'd have to go back to the museum and check and see. I'm not sure if they belong to it or not. But it's a really small dolphin. Okay, next. Okay, so then I think this is I'm just about done with the process. I cleaned out both of this. We separated because during the fossilization process it had gotten compressed and sort of moved out. So we had to separate it so we can put it back together. Okay, next one. And there it is all put back together. It looks pretty when it's all done. Okay, so in conclusion with this, we learned that our dolphin is the first occurrence of a pontoporid dolphin in the Tohill bone bed, which is a #1, so that was cool. It was found to be a new genus and a new species. It is the oldest known pontoporid globally in the world. And what this does is that it extends back the whole family name 5 or 6 million years. So it is a very important species. It's the only one.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So, of course, it got donated to LACM. I want to protect it and put safe, and it has to be somewhere where it can be studied because of the importance of it. So that's where it is.
Wait, you donated that?
You're bringing it on.
So that's the story of our dolphin.
Yes, huh?
So that's the story. Oh, and we did check all the other ear bones. Nothing fit at all. So once you know that, then you know you're dealing with a new species. So, you have a question?
How many hours prepping did you do?
I know they asked me to do that. You know, I actually kind of semi-figured it out, but I wrote it down. I forgot what it was. Because I would go into the museum and do it. I told them, I said, if I just brought this home, I could probably do it in a weekend. You know, because me, I stay there for 10 hours working. You know? And so it was hours just to drive to the museum, and then I only have a certain little time zone where I can work, and then I had to leave the museum and then fight traffic back home. So, but we were doing this for the show to try to get the ear bones so we can see if it belonged to another species, which it didn't. And so we were real happy that it.
Take a guess. Take a guess on how long it took.
Oh,
3 days?
no, I went in maybe about 10, 12 times working on it, and I'd spend maybe 3-4 hours working on it. So
What tool did you use to clean that?
with tools, I used, actually, one of my favorite tools was a wooden toothpick, because it, you know, you had to change them out often, but I found that it was gentler on the bones. Sometimes with the dental tools, which is what a lot of people use, you know, it's like, oh, you know, you could gouge it a little bit. And I found the wood gave way to the fossil more than the other. So I used that a lot, and then, you know, I gently used the other tools. I put like a couple drops of water and would work the silt off. Because the silt kind of melts a lot when you're working with
Do you
it.
need to use the power tools at all?
No, no power tools at all. No. That's what's great about a lot of the fossils in our quarries, because it's silt, you get it wet, it just kind of melts. Occasionally you'll get like a big chunk of like a concrete type stuff, and then this was actually fairly easy, so it didn't take too long, you know, to prep it up.
Question over there.
Oh, question?
What did you name it, or it's
It's a
already?
very interesting question. I like that. Okay. So this is something else I forgot to mention too. Dr. Larry Barnes is working on a paper, a scientific paper on the dolphin, and we are actually co-authoring it with him. So our name will be on the paper. And I guess the etiquette is if you author or co-author, you're not allowed to name it. So we can't name it after you, but he says you can name it, you just can't name it after yourself.
Right.
And so we said, can we name it after our daughter, Kelly? And so then he said, yeah, you can do that. But as of now, as a placeholder in the paper that he is working on, it's called Archaeoplanetoid Atakane. And I guess Atakane was a geologist from California anyway, so as it stands right now, that's kind of the temporary name. But so we're in the process of, the paper is very long, and I hope to contact Dr. Wersman soon and we can, you know, get this thing finished.
That's great.
Does anybody else have a question there?
I do.
Okay, here's Sean, standing here for scale. Although the scale looks kind of weird because the hill is really high, but right behind him, right in here, we found something interesting.
Oh, that's okay.
You'll see. And it was interesting because this was way above the bone bed. It was about, I think, 8 or 9 feet above the bone bed. And it was right in the hill. I know Sean was walking by and he goes, I think there's something in there. So he made steps for me and I went up there and this is what we found. This is an Auldaney's jaw, a partial jaw. And you can see it still has some of the canine and one of the teeth right here. Next one. And there's the other side. And we took this to the museum and for Dr. Barnes to look at. And he looked at it. And so it's really fun to go there because when we do something new, he'll say, Vanessa, who also, she's the, works with the collections, go get this, go get that, and so they lay all this stuff out, and he brought out all these Auldaney's jaws, and then we all sat around and looked at him. He goes, so does this look like this, or does this look like this? And we were comparing and contrasting all these different Auldaney's mandibles, and he looks at us, he goes, I think it might be another new species. So we went, oh my gosh. So that's now in LA County Museum right now. We're sort of, you know, waiting to get together with Larry again and talk about it. But you never know. But it is interesting that it was so high up. So it's younger than the bone bed itself. Okay. Now this was an interesting little find too. This is actually a toe bone to like a Miocene type deer that, you know, land mammal that was around the area. Go to the next. And this is a Procraniaceras, and that would be this little section right in here. I don't know if you guys remember, or some of you would probably remember when I gave my last time. It was a couple of years ago. But we didn't bring them this time, but we brought the bones in. Okay, go ahead and do the next slide. Yeah, these were the bones. of this animal. Sean first found this bank of teeth, and he comes over to me, he goes, look what I found. And I went, oh my gosh, where were you? And so he goes, I think I just got kicked out of the hole. So I threw him out, and I proceeded to dig up the rest of these like horn-like structures. And this was part of the skull, like the back of the skull right here. And, okay, go to the next one. And see these structures right here, this is actually a relative to a giraffe. And these actually aren't horns, but they're ossicones. And ossicones can be covered in fur or skin, and it's not a horn. So that's basically, and you could see, I was going to say you can't go back.
Yeah, I can.
So you could see this is a horn that fits on the back, right there, and then here's the two sides. So that was a really interesting piece. There's only been, I think, one other of these found, and it's in the Buena Vista Museum right now, but it does not have the horns. So we don't know if it's a female or a different species or what. Again, it's something that needs more research. But the interesting thing about this find here is that it sets the occurrence of this animal further south. Before, they were just finding them further north. And Charmaine from the museum is a land mammal specialist, and he looked at it and he said, congratulations, you found one of the first occurrence of this animal south of where it has once been found. So, okay. Go to the next one. Okay, so this was in our hill, and you can see right here these. This actually, when I first found it, I thought it was whale, and I labeled it as whale, put it away in a box, and lo and behold, okay, next page, and here I took them out and prepped them and boxed them and marked where I got them from. Okay, the next one. And lo and behold, I went back later to dig again, and I found this, which is a turtle humerus, and these little circular things here are the wrist bones. And I thought that was kind of interesting because so what those other bones were the paddle bones or the phalanges of the turtle. So it's possible that the rest of the turtle could go back into the hill, but we really have to take the hill down to see. But it is kind of interesting how, how you find part of it and then more and more and more, and it can end up being the whole animal.
Is this still up real high?
Excuse me?
Is this still up real high?
No, this actually was found on top of the bone bed. And, a lot of times in the bone bed, what we find is, okay, so I told you about the layer being 1 inch to, 20 inches. But right on the very top, and I call it sort of like the cream of the bone bed, the animals would die, and then the sediment had come back in and buried them quickly. So we would find these associations of animals on top of the bone bed. So, we would find, big sections of vertebrae that were associated, and then if you dug down further, then you'd find all the jumble of bones from the bone bed itself. And, okay, there I am prepping it out. And this is like I said, this is a leatherback. We do have another one that's 21 inches long. This one is about, I think it's around 13. So 21 inches long for a turtle humerus, that's big. I mean, you're talking about a leatherback turtle the size of a Volkswagen. And so that's big. That's a big turtle. Now we just have to find a skull. That would be nice. Okay, next. Oh, here it is again. I'm still in the process. I haven't completed prepping that out yet. Okay, next. Okay, this was found, I think about a year and a half ago. Anyway, right here, this is the back end of a skull of a whale, and right here, this is part of the jaw. And I think there's a couple of vertebrae too that were found. Okay, next one. So I brought this home. I thought this would be a good thing to practice on, for when I do a bigger skull. But so here I am prepping this out, And lo and behold, look what I found out here, part of a megalodon tooth. And who knows, maybe that was, you know, it might have been part of his dinner. I don't know. Okay, next. And then here it is prepped out. So you can, I have a glue there for scale. Okay, next one. And there it is again with all the pieces kind of put together. I mean, it wasn't a lot of stuff, but it was enough to identify. I also showed this to Dr. Barnes, and he said it belonged to a Paritiobalaenia securus. So that's one of the baleen whales from Tohill. Okay, next. All right, now this is another skull that we found. And here's the back end of it here. Now this one had more of the maxillary, the top part of the, you know, snout that goes out right here. Okay, next. And that is home too, and I'm prepping it. And the maxillary is a mess. It's like all these shattered pieces. So it's going to be a real puzzle putting that together. This one has not been identified yet, so it's definitely a baleen whale. I just don't know which species. Okay, next. Now this is something that I actually have up here too, so you can, you know, check it out later. This is a sperm whale ear bones right here, and this was found. They were found right next to each other. Okay, next one. And here they are separated. This is the tympanic gula, and this is the periodic. And of course you saw they go together like that. And this belonged to the Auldaney morensis, which is one of the sperm whales.
That's this one here, right? So
That's-
people come
yeah.
up and take a look. There's
Yeah,
a
it's
little
that one right there.
container.
But don't pick it up though. You
No,
can look
no,
at it in the
I
box.
just want you to see. That's great.
No, I don't mean, anybody who
Oh.
goes and looks at, because
Yeah.
they're real fragile. They're
Yeah,
real fragile.
they stay in there.
And also, Dr. Barnes did look at this too, and he said it probably belongs to the Auldaney morensis, but he said it might belong to another one called the Scalicitus, which is another sperm whale from the program. Okay, next. Now here's another example of a lot of times how we find fossils. And this was again sitting on top of the bone bed. This right here is a scapula of a baleen whale. Okay, next.
Yeah.
And there it is put together as best we can. Okay, next one. Okay, this is in the back of our quarry. When Sean and I were back there digging, I started a little section, and the bone bed was really intact, so it was really nice. I started this whole section, and we decided to save it. So we tarped it, and we had it tarped for a long time. And then when Dr. Barnes came out, he goes, "You guys should try and build a room or somehow to preserve it." So we decided just to do just that. And here we are. We actually literally got a concrete truck in here to pour concrete footings and steps. Okay, next page. And
Oh, is that you on the top, Sean?
and there's Sean on top doing all the crazy. And there's my father-in-law and some workers, and we worked real hard. And I think they did it all in a month? Yeah, about 5 weeks. We were on a little bit of a time schedule. Okay, next one. And there it is completed. There's the bone bed room. I know some of you have seen it when you come for our tours. But we have dual doors, so you go in and walk around and come out this way. Sean made these lovely steps going down into the pit. And, okay, next. And this is a picture of it, of the inside, and you can see all the bones in there. There still needs to be more work. It's an ongoing process because it's a large area in there. Okay, next. There's another angle. And right in this section is actually another dolphin skull that's sort of tipped on its side. And then we have, some mandibles, and there's just everything all jumbled up. Next. Here's another closer look. Okay, I think there's one more. Should be- And then like, this is really a nice little cervical vert of a dolphin too, right there. That gives you an idea of least what is in there. Okay, next. And actually at this site, we also found one of we actually found our first complete meg tooth. And then we also found a tooth of a paleoparadoxid. So what we did is we made copies and then put them back into the bone bed. So they're actually, both those things are in the bone bed room.
Which one's the real one?
Yeah, yes. One's real and one's a copy. This is the real one. Wow. And
I need that.
this is the real one. Yeah. Okay, next. Then it was November 2nd, 2013. We were a field trip to the SVP was having their yearly meeting, which they have in different countries every year, and they happened to have it at in LA. And so we became one of the field trips during the meeting. And like there's Dr. Larry Barnes. And so these are all paleontologists who come to see
All around the world.
Yeah, from all around the world. And they came, and that's one reason why we were in a hurry to get the bone bed room done, so it was ready for them. Okay, next. And there they are, looking around, scouting out. What, next one? And then checking out some of our finds. Okay, next. And then here we are looking in the, I think this is Sam McLeod, the museum, Larry, myself, and then the rest of the anthropologists. Now we're going to take a little jump to the Cretaceous. Next. And there's my husband making fun of the T-Rex. Okay, next. I told him don't do that.
He started it.
Okay. Just a little side note there. Anyway, this is LA County, and they have a little excavation site on the quarry that they've been working on. And I know during the last field trip, they were working there when everybody came by for the tour, which is really nice. They haven't been there in a while, so we're hoping that this year they'll be there to. But you do the next one.
It's been hot.
Yeah, it's been awful hot. And there's, some of the, I've been helping them too, and then we've had volunteers and we, take it just down to the bone bed. Okay, next one. And then Vanessa was doing, they labeled everything, photographed everything, marked it with the grids, and then I guess they're gonna eventually, remove all the fossils. Okay, next. This was a sort of an interesting find. These bones are actually from pinnipeds, or like sea lions, and there were a couple of jaws and cranial pieces, skull pieces. Okay, go to the next one. And one, Larry Barnes, right there, and Deborah, who does his photographing for him. He felt that he thought it was really interesting when I cleaned out all the bones, I excavated, cleaned them all out, and he said they're from so many different animals. It's very strange. It's almost like this is stomach contents. He felt it might have been stomach contents, that maybe a large shark or a whale or something died, and that was the stomach contents that was left. So he said, let's do some photographing. So we brought the grid down and photographed it. You can do the next one. And that's how they do that. They use the grid for scale. And yeah, there was like 2 jaws, and there was like a side of the skull, but it didn't go with the other one because it belonged to another animal. And I do have this on display over here at the end if you want to look at that. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And then this right here, again, people who have gone on our tour have seen this. It's actually in the quarry wall itself, and it's a whale tail. It's right in here, and it goes all the way back down to here. There are 14 vertebrae, and I think they're all caudal, which is tailbirds. Next one. And here they are. And here they are right here. So you want to take a look at them. And the interesting thing with this is that is you can see, do the next slide. You can see right here, look at these predation marks. I mean, you can tell that this was all from sharks. Now, I don't know if this was done after it died, or maybe that's why it died. I mean, who knows, but it's interesting to note all that. And I have this right up here that you can take a look at. Next one. There's another close-up. Okay, next.
Awesome.
All right, this right here is a whale. And that's kind of hard to tell, but these are all the vertebrae in a row, so it's an association right here. And then these are all the ribs. And this whale was found without a head, no skull. And then I said, you know, I started digging over here, and lo and behold, go ahead, next one, I find another associated whale. And here's the birds all in a row. And this is a big concretion that formed right on top of it. Do the next one. And see, you can see how it goes all the way up, and then there's rib bones here. And again, no skull. So it's like we find skulls and no bodies, and bodies and no skulls. And this actually goes down a bit further too. Okay, next one. There's another close-up. You could tell it was definitely, this all belonged to the same animal. Again, this was sitting on top of the bone bed. Okay, next. And then, this is a really recent find. We found this in April of this year. We were going in the back of the quarry area, and we were trying to clear this one section off. And then Sean comes over and goes, I think I found something really interesting, because you have to check it out. And there was a big piece of the skull right here. I went, oh my God, I think it's another whale. So I ended up excavating out, and it just kept going and going and going, and it still goes further down here. I think the last time I measured it was, I think I wrote it down here, it was like, geez, 4.5 feet so far. It's a big baleen whale. I mean, it's huge. And of course, the matrix around it is like concrete, so it's really hard to, so that's still in the dirt, covered up. Okay, next. And then not too far from that is this dolphin, which I have right here up in front. This one has not been identified yet. No paleontologists have looked at it at this point, and of course it has no ear bones, unfortunately. So, you know, I'm not sure. I don't think it belongs to the Kentriodonid dolphins, which are a little bigger, but I'm not sure. Okay, go to the next one. I have a couple of pictures of it prepped out. I did send some of these photos. You do the next one. I did send some of these to the paleontologists, but I haven't heard back from them yet. So, but as you can see, it was really had a lot of cracks and stuff in it. So it was a lot of work making sure that it stayed together. Okay. Now this is, our quarry is like over here, and this is another quarry that we have on our property. This is called Fox Quarry. This is when it was beautiful and all green. Most of the time it's brown there. Okay, next. And we did find a few things in the wall, another 4 or 5 feet above the bone bed. And this is part of a whale skull. This is the maxillary that goes out, and back here would be like a base of the skull, if it's there, I'm not sure. Next. And this is also from Fox Quarry, and right up here we found, go ahead. Right in here, I was walking around, this was weathering out, so I figured I better take it out. Okay, next. And there were actually digits to an Auldaney flipper. Again, maybe a flipper sticking out, it could go all the way back, and we could have another whole animal in there. I don't know, we'd have to take the hill down and find out. But that was an interesting find. Okay, next. Oh, there's Sean fishing for megalodons. Sleeping on the job. And for those of you that don't, know the scale of it, here's an approximate scale of a megalodon shark, and right there is a man. Let's just show you how big they really were. I mean, it's incredible to think, you know, when you find a tooth that belonged to something that huge. Okay, next. And so this is kind of the fun stuff. I mean, finding all the fossils and all that's the bones and stuff is fun, but it's also a real thrill when you find these big giant megalodon teeth. And if you can see right here, this is the beginning. It's like, oh, when you first find that, it's like, oh, man, I got to see, is it whole, is it complete? Okay, next. And there it is right there. A lot of times this is how we find them, mixed in with all the bones from the bone bed. Okay, next. And there it is there. That one is about, we both found one this one weekend, and this was the one I found. This was about 4 3/4, 4.5, something like that, inches. And that one is actually over here, so you can see it. Next. And then Sean found his like this. What did you do? I think he just went 1, 2, and it fell out. I mean, I'm surprised the teeth just won't run to him. You know, all the big teeth he's found. Okay, next. And there he is. There it is, all fresh with all the roots from the weeds stuck around it. Okay, next. Yeah, and there it is all cleaned up. That's a good, it's about a 5.5 incher.
Yeah.
That's about as big as we see them on our quarry. Although I was told that the previous owner found one that was 6 1/4. I think Bob has one that was that big. But generally they fall in that range. Okay, next. And then these are our new smaller additions, and they're like this one is definitely probably a posterior tooth in the back of the jaw. Same with this one. This was really an interesting find. I mean, we've been digging throughout the whole quarry, but in the back of our quarry, the fossils are more mineralized. They're usually like this dark brown color, and we never found a megalodon tooth out there. Never. Just all kinds of other stuff, but never megalodon tooth. Well, finally, last month, I finally found one. It was a small one, but I did find one back there. So we don't know. It's really funny because if you look at our meg teeth here, you'll see that they're all white. And apparently, that's because, I don't know, from what I read, that what Larry had written about, or Dr. Barnes had written about, is that these lighter bones are earlier. They're not as old as the darker ones. He even said that these teeth, or that darker mineralized bones, may have been already fossils by the time these were laid down. So, which makes it kind of interesting. Does that mean the back of our quarry is older than the front of the quarry? These are the kinds of questions that I think it's great that the museum is there doing their excavation, because maybe we can find out exactly what went on in this quarry. And also in our quarry, we find a lot of animals where they don't find them as much in the other quarries. They don't seem to find the associations as much as we do. So it's interesting. It's fun. And there's our tooth tester, Mr. BBT. He loves shark's teeth. He just loves them. And there's Sean kicking back in the quarry. Look at those beautiful clouds. It really was pretty there. And that's about it for our update. Debbie, I'm sure you have some questions, so go right ahead.
How much time a year do you spend up there?
As much as we can. During the winter, a lot of times we're there.
Every other weekend.
Yeah, every other weekend for sure. Sometimes we go.
We'll stay for 3 or 4 days if we can. In
Yeah.
the summertime, though, it's just too hot up there.
It's so hot, that try not to.
Have you had any issues with valley fever?
No, personally, we haven't. Now, I know that Robert Ernst there was a biologist, and she was doing a study on that, and she actually came and took samples out of the quarries, and she didn't find any.
It's listed as a vector site.
I'm sorry, it's listed as a.
It's listed as a vector site for the
A vector
infection.
site?
Right. It's a hot spot.
Oh, it's a hot spot. I know Bakersfield is, for sure. But for some reason, she felt that maybe because a lot of these quarries were excavated, that the spores didn't like the silt, but it's in the top 6 inches of the surrounding, you know, dirt. So, I don't know, I mean, knock on wood, but okay. We're all native California, so who knows, maybe we had it already. Yes.
Have you found any parts of a megalodon besides the teeth? Like, have you ever found part of a skull or part of, have you found any parts of the megalodon except for the teeth?
Oh, except for the teeth. No, unfortunately, it's just for the teeth. But as far as sharks go, you know, most of their body is made out of cartilage, and it does not fossilize it. But they have the centrum, which is the center part of their vertebrae, which is their backbone. It does occasionally fossilize. And in the museum in Bakersfield, the Buena Vista Museum, you can see that we found a whole bunch of these shark burns, and occasionally we do find them. So it would be really fun, and I really, really hope that we find one day, because it would probably be a it would be good size, so. They have to die too.
Somebody was asking me, someone here was asking me about field trips to get vertebrates, and I told them it's illegal. I don't know if you know this, but it's illegal to get vertebrate fossils in California, except for private land. And so we're really lucky because we have access to Tohill, like our trip that we took a few months ago, and they have, the Tohills have volunteered to let us dig in March, this coming March, on their property. But it's
We did?
only.
Yeah, we usually take everybody to Fox Quarry for that, and it's, because it's a lot of fun. And yeah, I know, it's sad that we're losing a lot of our things. And I know it's important to be good stewards of fossils, and that's why, with our other quarry, we try to be careful, and if there's anything really important, we make sure that it gets funneled through to the museums and studied, because that's one of the main reasons why, we bought this, is that, we wanted to, protect it and, add these things to the Tohill area.
But it's going to be made members only, because since we're doing it out of the kindness, I mean, we're not being charged or anything. I think if there's something important, like a whole whale, I think that we'd all consider it, even if we believe it. And it's just a really great opportunity that most people don't have. So I love how limited, how many people will go up there. But we really appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, it's fun. We love, giving tours of the property and showing people how amazing it is, because it is. I mean, we're astonished. And we got this property. I mean, we knew what was there because we had been going on digs for many years prior to buying the property, but we really didn't have an idea of the vastness of it until we literally sat down and we're just going, oh my gosh, there is so much here. And this is just a small section of it. They still feel that there's more than what they thought. I think it was like 10 or was it 40 square miles? So many square miles of it, but now they feel there's more because the oil fields, a lot of it goes into the oil fields and everything. So, I mean, it is just vast. I mean, it's just incredible.
You have mentioned that you have volunteers coming up. Where do they camp out, or how long do they stay?
Yeah, the museum, LA County Museum, we have an agreement with them. It's a 5-year agreement for them to do this excavation site. So they come up, they bring their volunteers through the museum.
To the museum.
And then they work on the bone bed to, expose everything.
How many days do they generally stay?
They usually stay
One night, but sometimes they'll come up on a Friday night and then stay and then leave Sunday.
Yeah, sometimes
So
they
it
do.
depends on, but they stay in the other trailer that we have there, so.
Yeah. So that and it was nice because it beats driving down through the dirt road into the town and staying in a hotel and driving all the way back the next morning. It's just easier just to knock out your door and there you are. So, any other questions? Oh, okay, good.
Okay, thank you so very much.
So everybody's welcome to, check out anything, and if you have any questions on anything or you want to know stuff.
I can walk for miles.
In your what?
Facebook page for the group.
Oh, for the group. Sure, I don't think there's anything. I mean, the only thing I had to be a little bit protective is that new species thing, because
Right, but that's not the one of the models, right?
no one's seen the one of the models.
So that is something to this collection with
Okay, sure. Yeah. You know how it is, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's the
I'm
thing,
learning
is like,
the
I don't-
politics of the museum. You don't want to show something because then someone else will come in. Like with that dolphin, right? The paper one I have. Yeah. You know, kids keep saying, oh yeah, don't leave pictures out. Or what? Well, all the paleontologists, because I had work like stolen from them. Really? Oh yeah, you gotta be careful.
Well, yeah, that's another thing.
So everything's under wrap, you know.
I never post my posts online. I mean, you guys have a facility.
And I
like,
do.
But you guys have that cooperation.
them a little more, and then we may have like a little opening for it and do it that way. But everything else is little Bob. He passed away. This fellow, Bob, he was the one who owned almost 400 acres, and he had all the quarries, quarry, box quarry, slope, and then eastern west quarries.
I want to say hi to Lisa. I don't think we be careful with the toppers, because that right now, getting the name out there. Give me one of those pieces of paper over there. Get the name back out there. Please do. Let me know if you got a free Saturday. Come by. We'll give you the grand tour. They all have service. It's a girl behind Yes, absolutely. That makes me so happy. Yes, so I don't have a birth. We're offsite. It's like outside of but so I'm Katie, K-T-Y, our last name is Keaton. Last name's really long, email. Anytime. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So for volunteering, the main policy is 16 but for the youngsters, we would our tour is if we can do the entire history of life, all the way back to Cambrian, if you about 2 hour tour.